Welcome to Uncut with Lucia. My name is Lucia Matuonto, and welcome back to another discussion panel here at the RV Book Fair 2022.
Thank you, Lucia. And hello, everyone. I'm Pat Backley. I'm from the future. I'm actually in tomorrow because I live in New Zealand, but the rest of our panel today are from all over the world, so that's very exciting. Today we're meeting with three amazing authors to discuss transformation and books. First, we have Dr. Marni, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, Foderaro? Is that
very close? Foderaro, yes.
Foderaro, okay. And you're the author of God Came to My Garage Sale.
Yes.
Welcome, Marni. We're delighted to have you here. Perhaps you'd just like to tell us a very little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am a retired high school special education teacher. I left a lifetime in the Chicago suburbs to move to the Caribbean, where I am the author of many books. But one that is near and dear to my heart is my first spiritual fiction called God Came to My Garage Sale. And that is the book that I actually interviewed with Lucia when it first came out.
It's a wonderful book. Actually, I read it. And thank you, Marni. And
Sure.
We also have my dear friend, Lucio Gil. Lucio is the author of many books as well, and will be publishing the book entitled You Can Rule Your Life in December. Bem-vindo, Lucio.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Dr. Marni. Hi, Ron. Hi, Pat. I want to give a special hi to our book fair audience. And just to say a little bit about me, I'm a lawyer. I work at the U.S. Department of Justice in Brazil. And I'm an author, and I have authored novels. I have authored A Sombra das Cerejeiras in Brazil. It's a novel that takes place in Europe during the Second War. I've authored O Maestro das Baleias. Translating the name of the books, A Sombra das Cerejeiras would be In the Shade of the Cherry Trees. O Maestro das Baleias would be The Master of Whales. And The Master of Whales is a novel that takes place in one of the islands of Azores. I have been invited to participate in poetry anthologies, and I have published some in Brazil, and there are some more to come. And the good news is You Can Rule Your Life that I'm authoring together with my friend Lucia Matuonto, and we are planning to publish this book at the end of this year in December.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully. Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, we have Ron Hammond, the author of Live Your Humanity. Thank you so much for being here, Ron. Perhaps you'd just like to tell us a little bit about yourself. By the way, I might have sorted out my background, but hopefully I look okay, do I?
Yeah.
I haven't got white eyes? Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You look great. Nice background.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Ron, it's over to you.
But thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. And as you mentioned, my name is Ron Hammond, and I am the author of the book, Live Your Humanity, which I just showing here very quickly. I am originally from the state of Virginia. I moved out here to Denver, Colorado from the Washington, D.C. area. And I spent 25 years of my career working in corporate finance. And I think I may have gotten just a little bit burned out by that. It was very heavy roles, lots of hours every week. And I decided to go in a different direction and start writing. And so far, it's been a really good adventure for me. I'm really enjoying it and having a great time with it. And my very first podcast interview was with Lucia on her Relatable Voice podcast. And it was a lot of fun. So thank you again for having me on, Lucia.
Thank you too, Ron. It was very good to have you all on the podcast. And yeah, I couldn't be happier to have you here today. So, Marni, you have a 35-year background in special education. So what introduced you to the world of spirituality?
Well, I made a big choice in my life, and I left a very unhealthy 27-year marriage. And, in the midst of that, I realized I had lost most everything. I had lost my home. I had lost my assets, my money, even my adult children, to a very unfortunate family dynamic called parental alienation. But, even though I was really faced with all of these, negative repercussions from my choice, I was filled with love and happiness and gratitude. And, in the midst of all of this, I had to have a garage sale. But instead of having any negative feelings, I just had positive feelings of love and thankfulness for everything that I had, so many blessings. And I think that opened me up to almost having a spiritual awakening, because at this garage sale, miracles happened, some spiritual miracles that were signs and synchronicities that I could not ignore. And it actually prompted me to go on a quest to research spirituality and research near-death experiences and what's called STEs, which are spiritually transformative encounters or experiences. And I got so much validation that what I had experienced was the real deal. And luckily, I did have some witnesses to some of the miracles. At one point, when I was surrounded by thousands of actually it was 50 to 100 dragonflies, but it felt like thousands. I knew to pull out my cell phone at one point just to videotape this experience, because it was just so otherworldly. And I write about that in my spiritual fiction. That sort of prompted me, this spirituality and these experiences prompted me to write down what I went through. And, people that have gone through such life transformations are compelled to talk about it or to write about it. And I was just filled with love and gratitude and wonder. And even though it's a spiritual fiction, it definitely is inspired by true experiences. And I was so glad that what I wrote about was done in a relatable voice, to kind of piggyback on your wonderful podcast that so many of us have been honored to be part of. It won the 2020 Best Books Award, and it was endorsed by James Redfield, who is the best-selling author of The Celestine Prophecy. So that gave me some really great validation and led me on my journey towards spirituality, but also just embracing love and life. And even though I am leaving behind some very challenging situations, there are definitely some significant losses, and so many of us have faced challenges in our lives. But if you handle your challenges with love and honesty and goodness, you're really on your way to self-actualizing and having a blessed, happy life.
Wow, Marni, I'm kind of quite speechless at the moment, because I've been through a very similar thing to you, and I understand completely when you say you feel compelled to write about your experiences. Now I've got to rush out and get your book, or at least sit at my computer and download it. Thank you so much. That was really, really fascinating. I feel I need to talk to you a lot more. But first we have to talk to Lucio. Lucio, hi. This is so exciting for me. Lucio and I have both written stories for Lucia's anthology that's coming out next month. And this is the first time I've properly met him. We had a Zoom call with like 14 of us, but you don't really interact with somebody. So for me, Lucio, thank you very much. This is very exciting to actually be able to talk to you one-to-one. But now I must concentrate.
Me too, Pat.
Thank you. But now I must concentrate on the job in hand. Otherwise, Lucia will sack me as her co-host. And I'm thoroughly enjoying meeting all of or everyone's. She has so many lovely guests. But Lucio, you've got a background in law and international relations before you became a mediation therapist. My goodness, that's a mouthful. What introduced you to, or who introduced you to meditation? Sorry, meditation.
Meditation, yeah.
Meditation.
Yeah, that's true, Pat. I come from a world totally different from the meditation world. I first met meditation in 1993. When I talk about meditation, I mean the dynamic meditation is a type of meditation where you can work a goal during the process of meditation. Can be a spiritual goal, a material goal, even a health goal, doesn't matter. And so I met the meditation in 1993. I was totally lost at this time. I was unemployed. I had no money. I was feeling alone. I had no good friends. I had no girlfriend. And this was something that was making me suffer a lot. And then a friend of mine introduced me to a group of dynamic meditation that was being conducted by a very special therapist called Maggie and Lila. And in this group, working in this group, I was able to see that I was doing everything wrong. I was thinking wrong. I was seeing myself wrong. I was feeling the life wrong. And I started working with them and learning about the techniques to change this scenario by changing myself. Because we cannot change the world, but we can change ourselves, and the world is going to change as a consequence. So the change always starts on us. And so I started practicing those techniques, practicing the dynamic meditation in my life. And one day I felt the need to share this knowledge and this experience with others. Was like, Pat, if I had been gifted with a rose, so I start removing the petals to gift other people. And so I started learning more and more about dynamic meditation. And I started conducting groups of meditation. And so that's how I became a therapist in dynamic meditation. And all this experience, all this knowledge is now in a book called You Can Rule Your Life that Lucia and I were planning to launch very soon.
Well, that's fascinating as well. Lucia finds such glorious guests. You've all got such wonderful stories. Thank you, Lucio.
Thank you, Pat.
And now,
Thank you, Pat.
Ron, you have a 25-year career in finance. What brought your focus on how people can live a life of meaning and connection?
Well, I think I have a story that kind of runs parallel, to the other guests on here, Marni and Lucio, except I was in a pretty tough period in my life where I was working, sometimes 60 and 70-hour work weeks. And I was living in the Washington, D.C. area. And I noticed first that besides feeling empty inside, I was also feeling a little bit like people were not really interacting all that well with one another. I was paying attention to how people were speaking with one another, how they were acting towards one another. And it really made me start thinking, well, gosh, how am I showing up in the world for other people? Am I being kind? Am I being compassionate? Am I having empathy? And I think what happened to me was I realized that maybe my self-love was gone. And, if you don't love yourself, of course, it's very difficult to love someone else, right? And one day, with the old mantra, it's so ironic. I was in a bookstore and the old mantra of, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, I was just perusing the aisles of the bookstore, and I found this book by Wayne Dyer called Your Erroneous Zones. I don't know if any of the panelists read that book.
Yeah.
But the fundamental, I would say, idea behind the book is that you have the power to change any negative thinking patterns that you may have in your life. And that was such a big aha moment for me. And I picked that book up and I took it home. And I remember it was a Friday evening and I had finished the book by that Sunday. And it completely transformed my life in the way that I think about it, and also the way that I think about other people. I think that as human beings, we tend to underestimate the power that we really have. You know, your thoughts actually change the way you view the world and how the world responds to you as well. And so I think that was the beginning of my journey at this point on that. And I have never looked back since.
Oh, another wonderful story. I'm exhausted already listening to you guys. I feel as though I've lived everything with you all. Thank you, Ron. I just find it wonderful how similar we all are. You know, we're obviously very different people. We live in very different places, but our personal life experiences are all on the same level. And that's made us, without sounding big-headed, I think it's made us all quite wise. You know, when you compare yourself now to how you were as a 20-something-year-old, you know, I know for myself, I'm 71 now, and I'm a completely different person to the one I was in my 20s. I have more empathy and I understand the world more. And it's just wonderful that we've all come to this place in our life at the right time, you know, when we're meant to be. If we'd all met 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't be having this wonderful in-depth discussion, would we? Because we were all at different stages in our lives then. Yeah. So anyway, enough from me. Marni, you draw on your personal experiences. You drew, sorry, on your personal experiences to write your book. God Came to My Garage Sale, which I love that title, by the way. That's such a fabulous title. What made you want to write this? I mean, you have already touched on it briefly, but what kind of prompted you to actually write the story down?
Well, like I said, I was just compelled to write about these experiences, as so many others are that have had some transformation in their lives. And, you know, it was, I guess, part of the reason why I wanted to write the book is to let others know that there are signs and synchronicities, that, you know, things that people might think are just coincidences may actually be orchestrated by some divine intervention. And, you know, that we should be open to having miracles happen in our lives, you know, like the other guest panels talked about. You know, many of our aha moments happen after experiencing traumatic life events. You know, whether it is just, you know, they're lost and they don't know what direction to go to, or whether they've experienced some sort of trauma, betrayal, deceit, loss, you know, just some sort of life-changing experience. But our thoughts, like Ron was saying, they can manifest our reality. And, you know, I have been someone that has always looked at challenges and tough situations with a positive lens, so much so that almost was to my detriment at some point. You know, I stayed in an abusive, unhealthy marriage for 27 years because I believed that because I was a good person and honest and loving and had integrity, that everyone else around me had that as well. And it was a real, you know, eye-opener to realize that not everyone has those same values. But we're not out to blame other people or, you know, point the finger or change other people. We can only control ourselves and what our thoughts are and what our actions are. And so I took, you know, what could have been a very negative situation where I've lost everything and I had to have a garage sale and leave, you know, the safety and security that I had for so many years. it really turned out to be the best experience in my life because it moved me forward on my healing journey, on my spiritual journey. And I never in, my wildest dreams imagined that I would be an author, even a best-selling, award-winning author. That wasn't what I set out to do. I just wanted to share my experiences. And I think our voices matter, whether we're talking about any topic. Our voices matter because it's so important that people realize we have much more in common than we do have differences. And so our voices can provide hope and inspiration to other people so that they could find their voice no matter where they're at on their journey in life.
Wow, this panel is fantastic. And I have to say something. After I interviewed Marni, I started paying attention to signs from the universe. And I think that there are no coincidences, but synchronicity. Like every single coincidence brings a message to you. So this was something that stayed in my life, and I started seeing a lot of things that before I was not, I was not really able to see because I was not paying attention in some details. So thank you, Marni, again.
Oh, yes, yes.
And also I want to say just something Ron said that is so important. The books changed his life. And I truly believe that books can change our lives. So, yeah.
Absolutely, Lucia.
Yeah. So, it's my part. Yeah, but this time I talked a lot. So, Lucia, you had written mainly novels prior. Yeah, it was all novels. So how is your writing process different when creating You Can Rule Your Life?
Yeah, good question, Lucia. Actually, novels is a passion for me. I think that I get fascinated when the story is starting, the characters are rising, and I start meeting the characters. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I become the best friend of my characters, and sometimes I miss them and I have to read the book again just because I'm missing some of them. For me, this is fascinating, and I also see everything that I am writing, which is interesting but weird because novels are fiction. Since I was a kid, I used to see what I was reading to. My first book was the Fairy Tales of Andersen, and it was amazing for me. So I'm really passionate about novels, but I mentioned before that I conduct groups of dynamic meditation. And a member of one of these groups read my novels. Actually, I have here the Sombra das Cerejeiras was one of the novels that he read. The other one was O Maestro das Baleias. And he came to me and said, "Oh, Lucio, I loved your novels, but you know what you should write about." And I asked him to be more clear. And he said, I was thinking about how the experience that you shared with our group, changed my life. And I was wondering how would be like 1 million people having the access to this. And I kept that in mind. And then I realized that if I want to write about such a special tool, I should be clear and transparent, and I should open my heart and my life to the readers so that they could see how the dynamic meditation changed my life and how the dynamic meditation could change someone else's life. So I believe that all of us, we are born with a divine light inside of us. And one of the missions we have in this life is to expand this light. So each one finds a way. In my case, was this way, the dynamic meditation. And so this book, You Can Rule Your Life, is a little bit about my story. And when I start saying at the exact moment I got lost, and then how I met the dynamic meditation and all the changes that it made. And is a lot of techniques too that I write in the book, a lot of techniques, a lot of tips for people, especially starters, to beginners, to start practicing the dynamic meditation.
Lucio, thank you so much. Now I need to learn all about dynamic meditation. I'm fascinated. Is it published in English? Because obviously my language skills are very poor.
Yeah, I'm finishing the translation to English. I wrote it in Portuguese because it's my first language, and I'm finishing the translation to English. And we are gonna launch in English before I will launch in Portuguese in Brazil. But so until the end of this year.
Yeah, hopefully. I promised you that I'm going to finish it in November. You know, I've been doing things.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's something to look forward to. I always feel very embarrassed that I can't speak other languages. I think as an English person, you've probably all realized I'm English, although I live in New Zealand. I immigrated here 12 years ago, but English people have this inbuilt arrogance, I guess you have to call it, obviously harking back to the colonial days, that we're not very good at learning other people's languages. And I am very ashamed of that. So I apologize in advance, Lucio, that I can't just read your book in Portuguese. But I'm sure there will be a very wide audience for it once it's in English as well.
And I especially love your accent, Pat. And just one quick thing more about the Lucia's question is that the main difference between writing novels and then venturing to write You Can Rule Your Life is that You Can Rule Your Life is not fiction. So it's about my life and the change that I experienced. So that was the main difference.
Yeah, and just to explain my part, yes, I'm writing about movement and breathing techniques that can improve our posture and therefore our wellness. Because as a physical therapist, this is more my part. I'm not really an expert in dynamic meditation, but for sure I'll be learning many things after we publish this book, because for sure there are many things to see there. So, Pat, now it's your turn.
Okay, thank you. And can I just say, I think your book, your collaboration is going to be fabulous. With Lucia's skills and yours, Lucio. Oh, wow, it's going to be a fabulous book. Ron, what about you? What was your research and writing process like for Live Your Humanity?
So, you know, when the idea came to me to write my book, I was spending a lot of time in my car commuting to and from work every day. And as I was thinking about the way that humans were interacting with one another, I was thinking about, well, gosh, okay, so what about kindness, compassion, empathy, integrity in your life? And I came to the conclusion, and this was after watching a couple of infants in my family playing together, you know, as children, we already have these values. I think we come off of, I always like to say, the factory floor with these values. And as we progress through our days and our lives get a little bit more jumbled between managing family, responsibilities and work responsibilities and so forth, I think they kind of start to take a back seat sometimes. And so I thought, well, if I want to write about this, I'm going to have to walk the talk. And so I set out on my own to just do little things like express a kindness to someone by holding a door open for them, or when someone needed a listening ear, being mindful and being present. And maybe not always trying to find a solution for that person, that maybe they just really needed a listening ear. And showing people that you love them and actually telling them that you love them and that you need them in your life. And as I was embarking on this adventure, I was also making mental notes that I was then scribbling down in a journal at night. And I thought, okay, I'm doing this, and here is the response that I'm getting. And here is what is happening for me right now. And the one thing that I noticed, that when I was treating others with kindness and compassion and empathy, I felt great inside. I felt like, gosh, I'm really doing something for someone else here. It's not all about me like I thought it was, that we all need each other in order to survive in our lives right now. And I always think about this quote, and I don't know who said it, but the quote was, "We are eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience." And I just thought, gosh, what can my part be in helping someone's human experience be the best it can be? And that is really what propelled me to write that book and to go on and embark on this journey of doing these things for other people, making notes about it, and then writing about it.
I have no words to tell, to say.
I hope that's a good thing, Lucia.
I'm just the same, Lucia. It kind of takes your breath away because, Ron, you're just saying what we obviously all feel. I think we're obviously kindred spirits sitting here this morning. And you just verbalized, I think, what we all felt, which is why for once, Lucia and I can't come back with smart quips. Okay. So well done you for keeping two very noisy women in charge. I'm very impressed.
Well, I didn't mean to do that, but okay, thank you.
And I remember when I interviewed you, I said, let's start a community, let's spread the word about
yes.
Let's change the world so we can change the world. And self-improvement books have been around for decades, arguably even centuries. So the three of you had prolific careers before venturing into self-improvement and transformation, which I think a lot of us can relate to. So Marni, prior to writing your own book, were you reading any books about spirituality?
I don't think I was. I was definitely reading other books, self-help books, as well as informational books, books about education, because I was a teacher and a lifelong learner. But there were a few authors that, really resonated with me. One of them is Anne Murrow Lindbergh. And, she is well known because her husband was Charles Lindbergh, a famous aviator. And they also, unfortunately, had a tragedy in their life where their young son was kidnapped and murdered, and she had to go through all the emotions that a mother or parent does, losing a child. But her writing always resonated with me. And one of my favorite books was The Gift from the Sea. And, you know, each chapter was a different seashell. You know, she would go to the shore and spend some quiet time alone, reflecting on life and love and on marriage and on relationships and just inner calm and inner peace. And so I was drawn to that kind of writing. But, you know, I have to say that throughout my whole life, I just had some sort of light and feeling of goodness and integrity within me that was just part of my being. So it was very natural for me to decide on a career as a special education teacher, where you know, your empathy and your love of other people, love of humanity, would play a role in my day-to-day. And I believe that that also helped me handle life's challenges, as well as, you know, guided me on a quest to write and to talk about these things. You know, even in my 5-book series called True Deceit, False Love, which addressed some family trauma situations and relationship issues, it's all done with a lens of love and goodness and awareness, and trying to say the words that many of us know in our hearts. But it's nice to actually read about it. So books can, like you said, be game changers for people. And they have been for all of us. And there's just something about the written word, and to be on the other end of it as an author is just such an honor. You know, it's such a calling, such a passion.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marni.
I agree entirely, Marni. Being an author is we're very honoured, I think, to have this opportunity to put our words down on paper and reach other people and touch them in some way. It's, for me, I mean, I've only been an author now for 2 years. It's the most magical career I've ever had in my whole life, because you know that you're leaving a legacy, if you like, and you guys particularly are leaving great legacies, because you're reaching people's hearts and minds. And
what is so very exciting in this day and age is, through technology, we can reach a worldwide audience because of amazing podcasts like Lucia's with the relatable voice. You know, you can reach out and connect with people across the globe. And, you know, that is also very validating, and it's very exciting, and it brings so much richness to our lives. So it's not just the solitary activity of writing a book and sifting through our experiences and our thoughts and our hopes and dreams, but it's also the connection, the real world connection with people like we are doing right now, that enriches our lives beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, very well said. Because you're right, Marni, because in the days before the internet, we would have written our books. They would, if we were very lucky, have been sitting on shelves in dusty old bookshops and probably never seen the light of day for most people. Whereas now, through things like Lucia's fabulous podcast, we can, as you say, reach a huge audience, which is wonderful. So thank you for pointing that out, because that's actually not something I've thought about very much, but it's so true, so true. So thank you. Lucio, you next. What about you? Were you always curious about meditation and mindfulness, or is it something that just came to you, as you said, when you were going through a bad time?
Yeah, actually, I've been always curious about that working place, Pat. If you can understand what I'm saying, this place where we can work, which is not the level that we are now, is a different place where we can transport ourselves and where we can work our goals in a divine vibration. So I was always curious about that place, that level, and how to reach it. During my life, I read different books, different religions. Today, I consider myself an spiritualist. I don't follow any specific religion. I believe in love. I believe in God. But I finally found the way which was inside myself, which is inside everyone, that you can access, and then you can see what is going on, and then you can start doing the changes. So I was always curious about that since I was very young, I would say.
And you must have been very excited when you kind of actually managed to pull it all together.
Yeah, you mean when putting all together, right?
Well, when in your head you suddenly found what you were looking for almost all your life, when it's suddenly
yeah. Well, it's a process, Pat. It's very fast for some people, but takes a while for other people. Meditation is always the same. There are people that has to start by breathing. There are other people that can connect like that fast. So, but talking about me, I'm saying that because I conduct groups. So I see everyone working, and people is different one from each other. But talking about me, it's fascinating when you can connect in a vibration where you can move to that working level that I would say is our truth. We all came to this world with that vibration, but life, sometimes, I think this happens to everyone, sometimes changes you, and you get more, I would not say more heavy. This is not the word, and sorry, because English for me sometimes that it's a little challenge, but that place that I'm talking about, that working level, that is exactly our true vibration. We all came to this world with this divine light to be expanded. That's what I say to everyone. So when I'm there, when I face what is going on in my subconscious, when I see what I can work, sometimes a feeling, sometimes I have to forgive someone, sometimes I want to work a project that I have, a launching of a book, whatever. So I start working in that working level, which is really, really nice.
And it's difficult to reach, I think, because I'll tell you, I try to meditate, but I'm so distracted. It's like,
yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
But my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, but there are techniques for it too, Lucia. You are not the only one. I'm gonna tell you. There are people that gets excited, and then for you to keep calm and to breathe is sometimes a challenge. But there are techniques for that too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Ron, what about you? How did you get into the literary world of self-improvement? I know you said that you read a book and then you got inspired, but have you always wanted to be an author and also write about self-improvement, or you thought about writing fiction, for example?
Well, I think the idea for me to write my book came into my mind, I would say probably about 25 years ago, but I kind of pushed it aside thinking that I need to, toe the corporate line and go to work every day and bring the paycheck home, And, I think as we were talking about spirituality, I remember I was reflecting back when when I was a kid, I was raised in a very, Christian household. We went to church every week. We listened to how to get into heaven and what not to do to go to hell. And I always remember thinking to myself, I just don't know if I really believe this. I was very conflicted in my mind. And I would say probably the last time I went to a church service was when I was probably 15 or 16 years old. And I don't really identify with a religion right now, unless you call treating others well a religion. And I think that, when I mentioned earlier about Wayne Dyer's Your Erroneous Zones, I also read another book written by him called There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. And I have read that book, I bet you 7 to 10 times. And I've underlined it and I've highlighted it. And that book to me was the defining moment for me about what spirituality really is. And Lucio was talking about the high vibe and being on a high vibration. And, life feels better when you're on a high vibration. And you treat people better when you're on a high vibration, and just all of your experiences around you change for the better. And, it's funny, you realize at the end of the day, you really don't have any problems at all. You just have some challenges that you need to get over. And I think that's part of our soul's expansion here. And so, if we can marry our soul's expansion with how good it feels to treat other people well and to be kind and empathize with them, I think we've hit the Holy Grail at that point. And all good things come to us from that point on. So I don't know, the spirituality is a really big thing for me in my life right now. And I know, you talk to some people who think, oh gosh, here he goes again. But honestly, the results that I've seen from living like this they've really just squashed out any negatives. I just can't talk positively enough about it.
Ron, I really resonate with what you are saying as well. And Hay House is the publisher for Wayne Dyer and so many others. And that is my publisher as well. I'm with Balboa Press, a division of Hay House. So I'm definitely drawn to those books and those messages, and totally can relate to you with, your experiences about spirituality versus organized religion. I actually was raised in a household of atheists. So I had no exposure to religion, and it was on my own that I, as an adult, was seeking out. There has to be something more. And of course, I went the organized religion route, became baptized Presbyterian. Later on in my life, converted to Catholicism. But I, like you and so many others, see the hypocrisy in organized religion and don't really resonate with, the do's and don'ts. And I think that you really can experience God and spirituality without, being in four walls and having a human kind of dictate to you. And, although there are many benefits to organized religion, especially the community aspect can be very healing for many people, but we all need to find our own way. But I think your message of just living in love with empathy and integrity is so important. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that you need to accept behavior that is abusive to you. You can pray for other people. You can wish them well, even silently. You can love them from afar. But you've got to also, I would kind of piggyback on that you need to have some healthy boundaries, because not everyone is at the spiritual level that you are at, or that I am at, or that others are at. That's right. We're all here for a journey. And I think, though, understanding that helps us accept that not everyone has good intentions or is at that level at that particular time in their life. But there's hope for humanity, like you said, and it can start with us. We need to be the change that we want to see in the world.
And, you know,
that's
Marni,
perfect.
to your point, I would also say, you know, I always say, accept everybody where they are right now. You know, just, and you don't have to judge them, you know, just accept them where they are right now. And I think this is where, you know, we've all heard the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have done unto you. I think that's, that very short sentence is really the epitome of true. What we should be doing, you know? Yeah,
and one thing that that you mentioned that is king, Ron, is that it's okay to have problems, but the issue is how do we react to these problems, right? And Dr. Marni spoke about love and about any type of abusive treatment. So what I say is that we need to love us first so that we can love anyone else. So this is about self-esteem. We need to love us and see what's the permission I'm doing to some situation that is not good for me. So there is a permission to, so we have to work all this. I think this is crucial in the process.
Yes, and some of doing that, working it out, is kind of going back into your own childhood wounds or intergenerational family dynamics and sort of understand, you know, the foundation that you came with. And, you know, whether it's someone else's belief systems or whether you changed your behavior to be able to get along, whatever it is, we need to understand our role in things and make changes only to ourselves. We can't point the finger at other people and make them responsible, you know, because we can't control what other people do at all. We can't control many situations, but we can control ourselves, our perspectives, and how we choose to handle challenges. And yes. I think we're all on the same page as far as it's about love and goodness. And what's so exciting for all of us is that we have found our voice through our pen, because that is just another way of processing things for ourselves, but also impacting others at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. And it's nice when we see the magic happening, because when we start changing ourselves, we are doing this through some knowledge, some help of someone else, some technique. But then when you see the world changing around you, this is the magic. And what I can see is that we all three, we are writing about things that we have experienced in our lives. We have seen these changes. We have seen this magic happening around us. So new people coming in this, connected to this new vibration that you are vibrating, new situations coming, doors opening. That's the magic. And that's what is amazing.
Agreed.
This energy here is great. I think we have to write an anthology about this. Yes, all right. All right.
I think you're right, Lucia, and you are the person to organize this anthology. You have vast experience.
Yes.
I so enjoyed listening to all of you interact just then. That was great. I just made a couple of notes. One is that collectively people like us could change the world, you know, and through our writing we are just making little holes in the earth's horrible bits. The other thing, two other things I wrote down. One is Ron's wonderful quote. We don't have problems, we just have challenges to get over. That's a fabulous quote, because that's something we can all live by, I think, you know, because we all get bogged down and we think, oh my God, this is so awful. I'm the only person in the world that's going through this. But I might write that. I've got all these wonderful quotes on my work desk that I draw from other people, and I write in red highlighter, and it just reminds me. So I think yours is that's going to be one of those. The other thing I wanted to say,
I feel famous now.
The other thing I just wanted to say is the power of the written word. When I was a little girl, I read and adored, and still have, a copy of The Water Babies. I don't know if any of you ever remembered. It's a real classic English children's book. And Mum used to read it to us when we were little, and then when we got older, we read it ourselves. But there is a lady in it called Mrs. Do As You Would Be Done By.
Oh.
And that always, and Mum used to quote her words about, you know, you must look after other people and do this and do that. And so from a tiny little girl, Mrs. Do As You Would Be Done By's words really, well, they're there in my soul. I mean, they've been there for 70 years now, and they will never go. And I think that was such a powerful thing. I mean, that was written, late 1800s, I think. It's a very, very old book. So obviously for thousands of years, there have been people like us who are desperately trying to change the world and try to make everyone just behave a bit better towards each other.
But anyway, there definitely is the power of the written word. And I have found that in my experience, words can have the power to hurt people, and they do. But on the flip side, words have the power to heal people and can bring, you know, wonderful feelings of love and light and goodness. And that can overshadow, you know, the negativity. So words are extremely powerful.
Yes.
Yes. I would like just to add what Dr. Marni is saying is that words have a different energy. Mm-hmm. The energy that you expand to the world when you say, I love you, is totally different from the energy when you say, I hate you. Mm-hmm. Because there is all these words, they are vibrating every day all over the world. So when you say, I love you, it's like if you connect with that energy of I love you. And when you say, I hate you, the same happen. So we should be very responsible to the words we pronounce, because we are expending energy and feelings.
Yes.
Beautifully said.
That energy can like go out like ripples in a lake, right?
Yeah.
It's like dropping a pedal in a lake, or a pebble in a lake. It just ripples outward, you know, and that's kind of the crux of what I wrote about in my book. So I'm glad you said that, Lucio. That's a great point.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. This is, I could talk to you guys all day. This is fabulous. Dr. Marni, you were an atheist prior to your experiences with your garage sale. Well, other experiences, I guess, as well. Why do you think we're always trying to learn more about things that we can't actually see? What is it in our human psyche that makes us want to understand?
You know, I really don't know. I don't know that I have the best answer for that. And I'm sure that there are philosophers and academics and sages that have all taken that question and tried to come up with an answer that would be a one size fits all. And I just, so I don't know that I have a general answer. I can speak for myself, though, that I've always had a quest to understand you know, a bigger picture in this world. And I think we're so conditioned to only experience and take for fact something that we can tangibly touch, see, you know, or feel, that type of thing. And, you know, a lot of what we're talking about are thoughts and feelings that can't be quantified or can't be molded into something so tangible. It's people's beliefs. It's good intentions. It's integrity. It's so many things that, you know, we really can't box up. And I think just as humans, you know, and there are many different viewpoints on why we are here on earth and what our purpose is. And I think we're trying to strive for that. I'm someone who really needed to have a lot of evidence before I really accepted that there were some spiritual experiences. And maybe that's because of my atheist background. I always needed proof. I always needed evidence. And I feel I got that, tenfold, because of the signs and synchronicities that happened, that kept on happening, that, were just kind of like light bulb moments to show me there's more to this earth than what I think. And then when you just ponder, personally, I pondered, why do bad things happen to good people? We as a human race suffer so much physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And, we'd like to have some answers for that. Why do we have to go through such challenging times? Why can't we all just get along and be kind to one another? But that's not necessarily the way of the world. So I think that so many of us look at that scenario and try to make sense of it. And that is where the inquisitive nature is, wanting to try to find an answer for certain things. And, at some point in our journeys, so many of us are given some of these answers, and they are so profound, we want to share it with the world. Because, and when you think about people that have had near-death experiences where they've actually flatlined, and they've left this earth, but then they come back, there are thousands and thousands of accounts and testimonials. And now there are platforms where people can share their experiences. And there's scientific research that backs up so much of this. Now people are starting to realize there is a bigger picture here. And it's letting people share their experiences, because they are profound. But the common thread with all of these near-death experiences is love, and is this high vibration of love and light and goodness. Every single account that I have heard, whether it's in a conference, at an IONS meeting, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies, or whether it's reading it in a book, the message is of love, light, and goodness. And that's pretty profound when you think of the thousands of people that have gone through something and they all come back with this kind of same message. It's something to pay attention to. And it, like you said, Ron, it also just feels good. It feels good to do good. It feels good to just live in the light and realize that, yeah, we all have challenges, not problems, but we all have challenges, but we can control how we handle them and what lens we want to look through in order to, make sense of it and live the best life that we possibly can for ourselves and others.
Thank you, Dr. Marni. That was very profound and so true. Yeah, I mean, we all, like you, I just always assumed everyone was nice. I got married for the first time just before my 20th birthday. I'd come from a very poor but a very loving family. And I suddenly found myself with this man who wasn't so nice. And I had no coping mechanisms at all, because I just thought that everyone in the world was lovely, like my family. And so life is a learning curve, isn't it? In fact, on the back of one of my books, I have a quote. I'm going to give you a quote now, but I'm not expecting you to write it down. But it's on the back of my book, and it's something I feel very strongly about. It's actually on the back of my personal memoirs. And it's, life is like a jigsaw. You have to look back on it to see how it all fell into place. And I firmly believe that, because some of the things that we go through when we're young, we don't understand why. And then when you get to this great age, you look back and you think, that had to happen, so this could happen. And anyway, that's that. I'm done. Lucia, it's your turn.
Oh, that's okay. I was also very curious about why we are here, where are we going? And it's something that I don't know. I want to understand it so bad. So, but I don't think I will be able to learn something until my time arrives. But as Marni was saying, there are so many things that we have no idea. These near-death experiences are so fascinating. And I interviewed 2 people who had this experience, and I was shocked. It's really so. Back to Lucio. Lucio, what do you think we always want to learn about things we cannot see?
Well, I may not have the answer for this question. I think that curiosity comes from what we don't know, and that might be the major motivation for science. And actually, Lucia, being very honest, I think we don't know anything yet compared to all the possibilities that the universe can offer to us. But there is a trend in the planet now that I know that there are some issues happening that is new for all of us, but I also think that everyone here, and I'm not saying everyone in this interview, but everyone in the world agreed to be here in this planet at this time. So what can we do to help to improve the quality life in planet Earth? So I also think a lot about that. But I've been seeing some very interesting statements, especially from people that is related to the health segment. So I'm gonna give you an example. I have a friend who is doctor and he's an oncologist. And 2 weeks ago, he told me that day by day, the medicine is getting closer to spirituality. I imagine he has a very strong reason to make a statement like that. And I have already heard other people related to health saying the same thing. And I also have seen some examples very close to me of people that had this unexpected and magic healing for different kind of diseases, some of them very aggressive. So that's the type of thing that we don't see, but there are a lot of people just like me, very curious about it for sure.
Yeah.
Another moment when you've stunned Lucia and I into silence. This is amazing. We neither of us are ever normally short of words, but I think all your words are so powerful that we have to stop and think. Am I right, Lucia? Is that how you feel too? It just makes you stop for a moment and absorb all the words. Yeah.
And thank you for that, Pat.
Oh, no, it's so true. Okay. Ron, you speak about a shifting consciousness and human connection. How does spirituality play into this?
Well, I think, it probably goes back to some of the things, that I said before. I think that we are seeing an awakening in the consciousness of people on this planet right now. And I think a lot of that is because of some of the world events that are occurring. I mean, we all know we've had our own issues here in the United States, and other parts of the world are seeing some of these things too. And I just think that people are yearning right now to know that there is something more. And I think that's what drove me to go into my own journey, with spirituality. Is that I know that there is something more out there, that's going on that we just don't see around us. And I was reflecting back on this. It was just this weekend, actually. I had a memory from my childhood that popped into my head. I used to be, and I still am, I'm so fascinated with outer space. And I was really fascinated when I was a kid. And I had this telescope. It wasn't anything fancy. It didn't cost a lot of money. But I remember I would go outside in the backyard and I would look at the moon. And then I would try to find other planets. And then I would lay down on the ground on my back and I would stare up, at the sky. And I would think there has to be something more going on here than what we know. And it makes sense that, they say that the universe is expanding. And so why wouldn't we as human beings want to expand our consciousness as well? And so to me, if you ever want to think about, well, what should I be doing going forward? How should I be acting going forward? How should I treat other people going forward? I always say, look up at the sky. All of that stuff that's going on above us is happening for us, not to us. And another quote that I saw once talking about the sun. The sun comes up every single day. It nourishes the earth with its light. It helps plants grow, and it never asks for a thank you. And I think that when you think about it from that level, you think, okay, this is bigger than me, and I can do my part very easily.
Oh, thank you.
No, we have to do something. Now it's decided. We have to, I don't know. I'll have to brainstorm what we are going to do to change the world.
Well, Lucia, you're helping with these types of events that you're, showing to other people. It's one act at a time, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we change the world going forward. One good act at a time.
Yeah.
And something that you are doing that really not many people do is to have this panel discussion so that people can learn a little bit more about the different authors and our messages and our books that will be life-changing, that are life-changing, yes. Because you're devoting the time to have these very candid conversations, which is very unique compared to many other podcast interviews that are just very short and sweet. And the fact that you're also having an amazing book giveaway as part of your RV book fair, so that many people will get a chance to have some of these books that, there are many authors, not just the three of us that are right here as guests and the two authors that are hosting this. There are many other people as part of this RV book fair and your anthologies. And I think you're just doing an amazing job in making this accessible to so many different people and having these conversations. I think it takes it to another level. It takes it to a little bit more of an in-depth level so that you can really see and hear the sincerity and that we bring to the table here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very well said, Marni. Very well said.
Yeah, and sorry, Pat. I think I interrupted
Lucio, you go first. You're the guest. You have the chance to speak first, not me.
No, it just to add to what my friends just said. I think where there is a good intention, where there is goodwill, where there is love, there is expansion, because the world is needing that. So one of the examples of what I'm saying that I have is Lucia's book, Zoe the Crab. This book was written with such a good intention, such love involved on it, and became a very successful book because books flies. And the world is needing this type of vibration, this type of message. So it's just to tell you that is one of the examples I have about love, goodwill, good intention, and expansion.
Thank you. Now I'll start crying. Thank you so much. Thank you. So just it all started because when I was a kid, I used to go to the library and I checked the books, and I was just seeing that a small headshot on the back of the book, and I said, no, I need to know more about these authors. And then it all started during the pandemic, and I said, these authors, we have a face, we have a voice. There are more things than only written word. Yes. So I decided to start this podcast because of it. And it's all about love. I just love what I do. I feel so blessed because I was able to have this, to start this platform and meeting people like you, because for me, it's, I learn every day, and I even became a better person because all of you and each of my guests, they teach me so many things. And as I told before, my superpower is to attract good people.
Well, that's a nice compliment, Lucia. Thank you.
Yes, of course. So, Pat.
I was just going to say that I think we're all very blessed to have met you. When I think that a year ago, I didn't know this lady. And now she's become a huge part of my life because we're doing this co-hosting together. We've written the anthology together, and it's just, and her new magazine. I mean, can you believe what a powerhouse this woman is?
Yeah.
You know, she just has an idea one day and the next day it's done. And I love it because that's the kind of person I am too. And I'm sure you will experience a lot of people in your lives who aren't like that, you know, who take 200 years to decide whether to buy the pink dress or the blue dress. So to actually meet someone like Lucia who says something and does it so beautifully is a joy. So thank you.
Thank you. So
your turn now.
Okay, so let's talk about goals. So Marni, what can we expect from you next?
Well, let's see. You know, I'm on a TV interview or a podcast interview almost daily. And I have been for the last year, and I'm going to definitely finish out this year with that. I've had a number of book signings recently. And so I guess I'll continue some of that. I do have a 6th book in the True Deceit, False Love series that I am working on. But, you know, I really also want to spend time just enjoying my beautiful life in the Caribbean, tending to my organic gardens, you know, enjoying the ocean, the rainforest, you know, kind of getting back in touch with nature. So, you know, I'm kind of striking a very healthy balance, I believe, because I'm supposed to be retired, but, you know, that wasn't to be. And, you know, it's actually been such a blessing to be able to write books and to have them be endorsed by so many famous people. It's not so much the fame, but just their authenticity and their knowledge and their support has meant so much to me. And so I've, you know, so I definitely have another book in me that I am working on, but we'll just have to see how things evolve. I really also, after experiencing, you know, so much trauma and doing all the inner work and outer work to heal from that, I'm getting closer and closer to just wanting to take some time for self-care and self-love and just to enjoy the wonder and beauty of my surroundings.
Wow, this is amazing plan.
That's perfect. And Marni, like you, I thought I was just going to have this cushy, easy retirement, and then my husband of 27 years suddenly dumped me, 26 years, dumped me out of the blue. And writing has saved me, because this happened 4 years ago, and I started my career years ago. So now I just think, oh, thank God for this, because I've got a whole new life now.
Right. You know, and it's amazing that we can go through challenges, but we can come out of them, you know, actually better than where we were. On another note, I would like to say that there has been interest in having my spiritual fiction, God Came to My Garage Sale, become a movie, a feature film, independent film. So I am in talks with a few people regarding that. And, you know, I personally look at my book as possibly being the life review portion of a movie, you know, where, you know, there's some trauma that does happen, and that gets exposed, and the character actually does have a near-death experience. And my book is very much like a life review, where you go through all these different experiences and connect them to your childhood or your life or your relationships. And then, you know, the end of the movie would be that the character is revived and goes on to live a beautiful, blessed life, but spreading the word of love and goodness, kind of, you know, awakening the hearts and minds of others, that goodness and light can prevail. So as much as I'd like to say I'm going to try to scale things down, you know, after I finish the 6th book in that True Deceit, False Love series, you know, with this movie situation kind of happening, we'll just have to see what you know, results as part of that.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
I will. We'll let you know.
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's hugely exciting, Dr. Marni. Yeah, hugely exciting. And I just think we're just so lucky that we're not just spending our slightly more mature years just sitting at home doing our knitting and being boring. I mean, that's, you know, that's something when I'm 95 I might have to do, but until then, no, absolutely not. Lucio, how about you? Have you got anything else in the pipeline that our readers or listeners would like to know about?
Yes, I have. But before that, I would like to say that I'm very grateful and honored to be interviewed by you both and to be participating in this debate with such amazing authors like Dr. Marni, like Ron. I'm so happy. This is an unpayable experience. For what's to come, so we have the Relatable Voices anthology that I'm honored to be participating with 2 stories, and it's just about to happen. We have the You Can Rule Your Life. Lucia and I will be launching in December. My novel, A Sombra das Cerejeiras, is on its 3rd edition. It's going to be published probably in September in a new publisher, Editora Literar, from Petrópolis in Rio de Janeiro. I've been invited to participate in poetry anthologies. And I have one here, the Book of Memories. So there are others that are being published now. So there are some poetry coming. And I plan to also to build a website dedicated just to my books. And I've got Lucia and I, we believe that this book, You Can Rule Your Life, we will certainly be reached by readers that would like to discuss some topics, to discuss some techniques. So I wanna have this website to have this direct communication with the readers. So this is something that is coming up too. Well, in parallel to that, I have my job. So you can imagine that my plate is full for the next months.
Wow, it's a lot. You're doing a lot as well.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Meanwhile, I would love to write a new novel.
Yes, and let's translate A Sombra das Laranjeiras to English as well.
Yes.
Ron, are you working on anything you would like to share? More books with this?
Well, I am. When you and I did our podcast together, I told you that I had an idea in the incubation stage. And so now I have graduated to the incubation / putting pen to paper stage on my ideas. And so I'm still kind of moving. I don't have a well-formulated idea yet, but I am now actually starting to put pen to paper on the things that I would like to write about. And so, I didn't realize, it's a very long process writing a book, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that you just whip out over a weekend, and I think that, it took me several years to write Live Your Humanity, only because we also ran into COVID, which really stopped everything at the time. So this time I'm thinking that I can get this out a little bit faster, but I'm still kind of in that in-between phase right now, but I am working on it diligently, I promise you.
Okay, and you know that our doors are open for you, okay?
Yes.
Just
yes,
let me know.
I do. Yes, and thank you for that, Lucia, just like everyone else. I'm just so grateful for you and Pat. And I thank you so much for all that you're doing for us today and all that you've done for us up to this point. I really am very grateful.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Your words mean a lot to me. Thank you.
I'm very sad to say that we've come to the end of our discussion panel for today. For me, it's only 9:32 in the morning, so I could go on all day, but I guess you guys have got something else you need to go and do. And obviously, poor Lucia, she's got to kind of deal with it all afterwards. So it's been an absolute joy to meet you all and to talk in such depth about such important matters. So thank you so much. I really am very grateful and honoured to have been part of this discussion. Thank you. So I'll just hand over to Lucia to close the session.
Thank you, co-host. You are wonderful, and I would like to thank our fantastic guests for joining us today. Dr. Marni, Lucio, Ron, thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights. We will have all the information available on the Relatable Voice magazine and on our website, Relatable Voice.